Well, let's dig a little deeper. And Dr. Ficario, I'd be interested, what does this new facility mean to your beef research capabilities?
Well, Kevin, that's very exciting. We've always had some capabilities there where we have developed our intake modifying technology, where we looked at eating behavior of the animals. I don't care if it's grazing cattle or if it's confined feeding animals. We have a pretty good database of ingredients, nutrients, texture, physical form, all those things kind of affect eating behavior. And, how they accept a pellet, how they accept a meal, a liquid, supplement, a block. This new facility is really going to allow us to triple our efforts in that area. We've got the ability now to not only measure those feeding forms that I talked about, but we're also going to be able to come in and measure forage intake. Because you think about grazing cattle, how much grass do they consume?
Right.
We kind of get an idea with a percent of body weight based upon forage quality and things, but we want to really be able to come in with these supplementation programs and the snack eating with the intake modifying technology and how we adjust that eating behavior and show that we can increase forage intake and forage digestibility, because again, that's our most economical source of energy for those brew cows. And you want to make the most use of that. So this new facility is going to allow us to expand that whole arena, not only, like I said, with the intake modifying technology, but also can expand it into confined feeding, growing those steers and heifers after weaning, all the way into finishing cattle as well. So it's pretty exciting.
Now, as we were talking just before the show, I mean, you've got 50 years of intake research. Have you got it figured out yet, or is there still more to learn, I guess I would ask?
Good question. We asked that ourselves. I think our management team probably asked that more than anybody. They said, yes, you guys still working on that stuff? Really it boils down to things change over time.
Yeah.
And we got a good knowledge base. We've evaluated well over 1,600 ingredients and nutrient combinations that we know affect eating behavior. But again, at the same time, those combinations are different for a meal supplement. They're different for a pelleted supplement, for a liquid, for a block or a tub. So we're always constantly trying to make sure we get the best value of our supplementation program for our dealers like Bob to provide to customers like yourself, because the economics always change, and we've got to make sure we stay abreast of that all the time. So we're constantly making sure our economics are right, but more importantly, we've got to make sure those products perform.
Absolutely.
So we've got to control that intake, manage the intake, and make sure we improve that forage digestion really we're trying to do with those brew cows.
So tell us just a little bit more. I mean, how do you actually track and monitor and measure, if you will, both intake and performance?
In the facility we have, we call them they're called kaolin gates. And they're not unique to our industry by any means. A lot of universities have them, but allows us to feed cattle in a pen setting but get individual animal intake in that social environment. So picture a pen or a dry lot that has 10 to 12 steers in it. Every steer can walk up to that feed bunk, and there's one specific gate in that feed bunk that steer can go to, and that's what he or she eats out of. So there's a little transponder on its neck. It corresponds to a certain frequency in that gate, and that steer is trained to eat out of that one location. So that allows us the ability, again, to have that social environment that's very important for cattle behavior, but also allows us, if we have 10 steers or heifers in that pen, all 10 can come up and eat if they want to. So we're not only allowing one animal to come up at a time at one specific feed bunk, there's 8 of these kaolin gates or 10 of these kaolin gates for every animal in that pen. So now that just tells us individual animal intake. Now what about behavior? Now think about how many times a day does the old steer or heifer come to the feed bunk? Time of day that she does it. How much does she eat it, or he or she eat at each meal? To understand that, we have at Purina, we have developed some electronic equipment working with some local scale companies that allow us to monitor the amount of feed disappearing, the time of day that it disappears in those bunks. So it's a kaolin gate combination with the electronic scales and the software, all that kind of goes together. And again, very exciting to be able to do that.
That is interesting information. We've only scratched the surface. We'll continue this discussion in a moment, but if you'd like more information about cattle nutrition, Purina, or any of our discussion topics today, you can always visit the website cattle.purinamills.com, and of course, you can also go to cattleman2cattleman.org for video replays of the show and for more information as well. Welcome back to this special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman as we hear from the animal nutrition experts with Purina and learn about how they research and develop feed and nutrition supplements to support the work of cattlemen and women in caring for their animals. Now, as we've talked so far, we started talking about changing cattle eating behavior, specifically intake modifying technology, and how that fits into sustained nutrition program. I guess I'd begin with you, Bob. How have your customers benefited from this technology?
Well, they benefit from, they get to feed the best product available. They get to manage that intake, and that will help manage their forage intake, which is the most important product for those cattle. So it's really managing that forage and improving that cow or calf or beef animals program.
Sure. You know, there's a lot of self-fed kind of programs, whether you're talking about blocks or tubs or what have you. And I guess I would just ask, you know, what makes what my perception is self-fed program different than any others?
Well, I think that's a very fair question.
Yeah.
The reason why is that there are many products out there.
Yeah.
So why are we so unique?
Right.
Well, the reason why is that our products work, and it's because this is what Chris and I do for a living. And this is 24/7, 365 days a year, we're developing products. But to take it to the next level, for example, we have the Sustained Nutrition Program, which are products we fit into a program. And so 365 days a year, we're offering a supplement free choice for the cows to consume. But they don't eat 5 pounds every day. Their consumption changes over time with the forage availability and forage quality. So there'll be times when they eat, you know, less than a half a pound a day. Other times they may eat 3 pounds, depending upon the season of the year. And because of that, and because of our research and then feedback we get from Bob's customers, from you as a rancher, we know they work. But we started this sustained nutrition around 12 or 13 years ago. Started out slowly by offering these products on a year-round basis. We knew they would not gobble them up. That's what you don't want. But where are we going to end up on cost? Because if it's out there all the time, are you going to end up with 500 pounds of supplement consumption, which is not affordable. But what we found is that our customers have told us cows actually eat less supplement on a yearly basis. We think that's because they're not trying to catch up, because they're in a more uniform plane of nutrition, which we call sustained nutrition. The thing that we forget about for cows is this. Cows are feeding 2 all the time, or 3. She's not feeding herself only. So if she's got a calf on the ground, she's lactating, she's feeding 2, herself and the calf. If she's pregnant and lactating, she's feeding for 3. After weaning, she's still feeding for 2.
Sure.
So we often think about her as just being a cow out there. She's a factory, and she needs some special nutrients that we've kind of figured out through these supplementation programs.
And so what does precise or sustained nutrition mean to a rancher?
Now, specifically, it means this. When you offer a supplement to a cow, so for example, you go out and you feed your cows 3 pounds. Is every cow going to eat 3 pounds?
No.
No way. Does every cow need 3 pounds? No way. What we found is that with these IM-Tech products, these cows' consumption will change depending upon what their needs are, but not every cow is going to eat the exact same amount, and that's a good thing. We had a VIP one time where we brought in customers, and we had heifers, and we had the actual consumption of the free choice product out there. The fattest heifer was eating the least because she needed the least. So it's trying to provide precise nutrition for these cows throughout the time of the year. The end benefit is more calves that are heavier, and that's what it's all about.
That's what we're after.